Hello everyone, and welcome back once again to DCS World. This is just going to be another one of these little bonus videos because I love this game, and whether you like it or not, you'll be made to love them too. Look, I've already made my arguments before for why this is very much comfy to me, and not creepy, but often terrifying. So here we are once again back in Syria with the A-10C II. And I just love this thing. It's a tank of the sky. And basically the situation is as follows. It's basically a tale of three cities. So right down there we have this town. It's occupied by friendly SDF forces who would like to move up and take this smaller town over here. Now the problem is they're being heavily suppressed by Syrian army artillery fire, rocket artillery, which is located both within the town itself and over here. Anywhere you see smoke, that's someplace that has targets that need taking out. They're not moving on this one right now. That one's probably less defended, but there is significant artillery there that's in range, so we got to take care of it. So the first thing we're going to do is move our TGP over, because the thing about the A-10 is that it may be tough, but it's very, very vulnerable. So we need to treat this thing as kind of a glass cannon, and we're basically going to move our camera over here and just kind of scan for targets. We're going to switch that to white-hot thermal mode. We can see the heat rising from these smoke plumes as they exchange fire back and forth. And if we zoom in, just look for some targets. There's something right there. Those look like some BTRs, probably guarding the main road through town. But that's not really what I'm looking for right now. What I'm looking for first is going to be any kind of air defenses, anything that might threaten me. And I see something in a field over here. That looks like an SA-13. Okay, so what we're going to do is switch to our rockets. These rockets are laser guided, so we can kind of steer them in flight. Back to our TGP, make sure that's soy, and we're going to start moving in for our first attack run. That little wedding cake down there is where our target is located. This is the cool thing that I love so much about the A-10C II, is that it's got this head-mounted display that gives it unparalleled situational awareness. It very much used to not have that. The A-10 actually used to be kind of infamous for not having good situational awareness, but thankfully we are like post-07, which is when I think it got that. Right now you can see that flashing L means we are putting our laser on it. He doesn't know it yet, but he's already dead. There goes our rocket. And we are going to turn off so that we can avoid getting too close to him. I have been having some problems lately where these laser-guided rockets don't reach their target, and I'm not really sure why. So hopefully that doesn't happen here, because now that we're in... Oh, that did not happen here. He was just starting to raise his canisters and probably shoot some SAMs at me. But we got him first. Now here's the thing. Obviously everybody always wants to see the A-10's gun in action. I don't want to get too close to this town because intelligence says that there's a lot of AAA down there, which are basically machine guns that are going to shoot upwards at us. It seems primitive, but it's very, very dangerous to us, especially if we get too low or too close. I see something in the fields over there. What are those? Those are a couple of tanks, T-72s. They're waiting there in amid the hedgerows for some of our guys to come and try and move in, and they'll be concealed. Okie dokie. So, meanwhile, we've come all this way. We may as well swing that TGP around to the other town and see what we can see, I guess. Switch back to white-hot thermals. Oh, that is a whole mess of stuff over there. That's troops, that's trucks. That's covered things, and those... we're kind of passing in front of some clouds, but I think those are our rocket artillery. There is a tremendous amount down there. Do they have any air defenses? That looks sort of like a Shilka, yes. Okay, that's a little bit more dangerous than regular AAA because it's mobile and it's got its own radar. So it's got slightly better range, it's a lot more deadly accurate. So we are also going to move in and maybe foolishly hit that with a rocket. I can see you turning your radar. I think you're already aware that something's happening, but it takes you a minute to get started. Let's fire our rocket. Hopefully it'll be able to make it at that range. Oh, you're looking at me? We're going to come this way around. Be able to see if you start shooting at us and fly more evasively. There you go. Okay. So, you guys down... Oh! Uh-oh. Oh, that's an SA-13! Okay, we're gonna lower our throttle and start, firing off our flares. And missile missed. Missile missed, that's very good, but we're gonna keep getting lower. You fired another one. We're gonna keep popping flares. Careful that we don't hit the ground. Just get low so that we break line of sight from you. And there we go. You fired 2 missiles at us. Okay, now here's where we're gonna strike back. We see where those smoke trails are coming from, roughly, which is gonna be like behind these buildings here. That was careless. I mean, I honestly should have checked to see if there were SAMs in the area.
Pull up, pull up.
Let's see if we can grab you on the TGP. Trying not to move too close to the other town, which could still have stuff in it. We've kind of learned our lesson. Oh wow, I'm getting really slow because I still have my throttle down. Basically, the reason you do that is because you want your engines to be producing less of a thermal signature than... there you are. You want your engines to look less attractive to an IR-guided missile than the flares themselves. So I'm not too comfortable passing this closely. I've kind of put myself in an awkward position here, and it is my fault. I'm going to fly down low, lower my throttle.
Pull up, pull up.
I'm being spiked by another SA-13 in this town here. I have really, really not planned well. Missile out.
Pull up, pull up.
Whoa, that passed right behind me. But now I know you're towards the front of the town. That one's still... Okay, that one lost me. Thankfully, the A-10 has got a lot of flares, so we're going to put nose on. You can really fire at any time, but I'm just trying to be sure. Off you go. I don't want this to miss, because we're going to be flying definitely within his range as we turn away. Hopefully that laser stays on point. You're pulling up, and you're dead. And I haven't been spiked by anything else. I didn't see any AAA from down here. So now, we're gonna start thinking about what we do with this big old base that I didn't realize would be here. See, I was thinking that the real stronghold would be in the town we're about to move in and take, but it turns out that's just their most fortified position. Over here is where the real stuff is, supporting that artillery. In fact, wait, there's something... There's a helicopter down there, too. Maybe somebody important is visiting. Okay, so we're going to put our TGP right here on those grad rockets. So if we have a look out here, right there, you can see the rockets that we've been firing. We've got 4 left. On our wingtips, we have 2 500-pound laser-guided bombs. We've got a Maverick on each wing. But what you can't see, and we'll move into a third-person view for a moment, is the 2 CBU 87s on the outer underside, and in the middle, 2 2,000-pound JDAMS. And I'll be going over how each of these things work as we use them. I really do love just seeing the scenery go by beneath me. Now let's light it up, because this is such a tempting target. Look at all those infantry for a pair of CBU 87 cluster munitions. And hey, they're not right in the middle of the city, so it's all good. So we're gonna fly over, line this up, and if I do this right, this will be truly awesome. I'm satisfied that there's no more anti-air in the village. Watch me eat my words. And we're gonna start, we'll fly somewhat straight, not really losing too much altitude at first. I am not the most skilled at this, as you can probably tell. But this is going to be a CCIP drop, so it's going to be like almost a World War II style dive bombing. I don't really do this a whole lot. I'm not very practiced with it. There you go. There's our Pipper. I'm going to bias a little bit forward, and there, and there. And let's go. Let's watch this land. Oh my god, that looked perfect. Devastating. Look at all those fires. It's literally just a carpet of explosions that happens. We're seeing some secondary explosions go off, and not even from the rocket launchers themselves. Well, there we are from the artillery. There's a bunch of logistics trucks back there. There were tents, who knows what they were concealing. They are all gone. I think I see something down there. Looks like they've got armored vehicles guarding the roads. We'll make a note of that, but we won't worry about it for now. And it looks like there's something in there too. Hang on, let's, I've got myself all discombobulated as far as the view goes. It would seem as though you are a couple of parked T-72s encased in sandbags. Probably meant to defend that part of the town in case somebody's coming over the fields. Okay, we're not going to worry too much about them right now, because they're not our objective, they're not an immediate threat, and we do still have rocket artillery in the stronghold town to take care of. So instead what we're going to do is, actually we are going to do some tank shenanigans. Those guys we spotted hiding in the fields or vineyards or whatever they are. You guys here, God, I love this TGP so much. Starting with you, sir. This seems, they're all in a row, so this seems like a perfect use case for the Mavericks. Basically, Mavericks are air-to-ground missiles that are fire and forget. They can lock straight onto a target by acquiring their contrast and just kind of home in on them. And if we do this right, hopefully it picks them up. Oh, come on. Fire. And let's see if we can grab that other one. Fire. And if we did this right, those should take out these tanks. Now, I would like to be able to give you cinematic views on all this. If all goes well, I will show them. But this game has a tendency to mess up the track files so that they don't show what actually happened. There's one. And there's two.
Warning, autopilot.
Bye-bye, tanks. Oh, right, but oh crap, I forgot. There is the matter of the other SA-13 that's in this town, and I allowed myself to get entirely too close. So let's gain some distance. Yep, there you go. We are dumping flares.
Pull up, pull up.
We have beaten that missile. Let's see, where did you come from? Right about there-ish. So that's what we're going to be looking at. Now the thing is, I probably don't need to be dumping that many flares to evade. I mean, we've been through like 100 of them already. But, you know, I'm like 20-something minutes into this thing. I don't want to have to restart now. There you are. We pretty much pinpointed him exactly. Now he's definitely going to be a bit more aware than somebody we were just creeping up on. Actually, if we look, you can kind of see the guy just sitting in there behind his glass windshield. So I'm going to start lasing you. We're going to fire our rocket from all the way over here, and we're going to start turning away. We don't want to turn too far away because the laser can point like head on and at a certain angle, but we can't be facing completely away from him. You're raising up, you're getting ready to shoot us. This might not hit. I don't think that rocket's gonna hit. So instead we're gonna... Yep.
Pull up, pull up.
Dumping flares once more.
Altitude, altitude.
I'm really concerned. I think you may have shot another missile. I think we're okay. You might have actually expended all your missiles. I'm not sure exactly how many you fired.
Altitude, altitude.
I really hope the track file ends up working, A, so I can show you some, like, cinematic views of these things, and B, so that I can find out what happened to that rocket. I'm thinking maybe it came in too low, and maybe, like, struck some terrain or a building, or maybe just the laser or the TGP, like, had to roll at some point and it put it off target. Thankfully, we've still got him. The TGP is an amazing piece of equipment. We're in range right now, theoretically. Make sure we're as nose-on as possible. Fire that rocket. Make sure... I'm trying to manage like a few different things at once here. Make sure we stay high and keep the laser on. You're getting ready to fire again, but the rocket should get there first every time if it's on target. And what I've realized is that that guy is surrounded by a ton of other things, and it's the rocket artillery. My RWR, my radar warning indicator, is now clean, so I'm satisfied that there's no more SA-13s or Shilkas. But that doesn't mean we're safe, because, again, we've been informed there's a lot of AAA in this town. It's embedded in the buildings, so we're not going to be able to take it out. Even if we could identify it, we've only got 2 rockets left. So I still can't get very close to this town, but that is a perfect use case for our 2,000-pound JDAMS. And you're going to see why these things are so cool. First of all, they are a very big boom. And I want to try and avoid civilian casualties as much as possible. So here's what I'm thinking. This is in an open area in the middle of like a courtyard between a bunch of buildings. So hopefully this will act as like a bowl that sort of contains the explosions. We won't be hitting any houses directly. And hopefully that kind of minimizes the damage. Hopefully. And I hope nobody ever uses that field where the artillery was for anything, because the thing about cluster munitions is that not every submunition explodes in real life. Sometimes they get buried and they become a real problem for whoever uses the land next. So, cool thing about JDAMS is that we can drop them from right up here, flying high and level. And as soon as that little arrow, can you see it? As soon as that little arrow above gets down onto the line, then we'll be ready to drop it. Let's just make sure that our target is where we want it. I'm going to bias a little to the right so that we're more likely to hit those logistics trucks. We are now in range. And 1 JDAM away. Now these things are so friggin' heavy that I can actually feel it being released from the plane. We're gonna watch from right here. Put it on white hot thermal mode so that we get a real show. And this is fire and forget. The cool thing about JDAMs is that they are GPS guided, and so we don't need to hold the laser on them or anything. It's just gonna fall where we put it. It already knows where it's going. Hopefully this works. Boom! It is always so satisfying to use a 2,000 pounder, but it looks like good effect on target. Looks like everything in there went up.
Warning, autopilot.
Now at this stage, our objective is complete. We could just leave right now, but where's the fun in that? We've still got, you know, our forces, our friendlies, are going to be moving into here, so we want to soften it up as much as possible. At this point, I'm just going to start hunting around and engaging targets of opportunity. But we don't even have to hunt too much because we already know that there's a couple of tanks guarding this base up ahead. We know that there's BTRs and such on the roads. We've actually found a lot of them in search of our target, so that's going to be our next objective. Hey, it always helps to lose weight. And there are those tanks. I've actually forgotten to set these laser-guided bombs to the right setting, so we're going to overfly this target and actually take this opportunity to make sure that we're more accurate, that we have the right point, which is preferably just under the target, and go into our stores page and set a different profile. We're going to set that from CCIP, which is what we did with the cluster bombs, and set it to CCRP, which is what we did with the JDAM, where we kind of fly high and level. The thing about these guided munitions is that, generally speaking, the higher you are, the more accurate they'll be, because they have more time to kind of guide themselves into the correct position. If it's a fair fight, you're doing something wrong, and I had plenty of fair fighting with those SA-13s. So we are going to laze that target. It definitely helps to laze beforehand, even with GPS-guided weapons, because it helps it to kind of, it helps to get more accurate targeting information in the first place. Get the right sensor. So now we've dropped one of our laser-guided bombs. And this always makes me feel like I'm playing the AC-130 level in Call of Duty 4, watching the TGP, just waiting to see if your strike will hit. But I think this one should be pretty accurate. Do we want to watch it in white hot, or do we want to watch it in regular? We'll do white hot for the first one, and regular for the next. Passing directly over it now, and direct hit. That is one dead T-72. Although probably not a dead crew, they're probably not manned right now. And as we fly over, we can point directly down so we know we're accurate, and we'll do another pass. There it goes. Almost missed it because I looked away. Hopefully that doesn't screw it up too much. I can actually feel this thing flying weirdly. These 2,000-pound JDAMs are so heavy that when you just drop one, this whole thing just like leans to one side. Hey, if this misses, we could always drop another 2,000-pounder on him. Switch to regular view. And there we go, that's a dead tank. So that base is totally wiped, except for that helicopter, which we... those are some of our friendly forces waiting outside of our city. Okay, I had the TGP pointed in completely the wrong place. They're just kind of up here looking. I think they might have fired on some targets in the beginning, but they're not doing much now. Hello, there's something over here. What is that? Okay, we're gonna go take a gander at what that is. I can't really see it too clearly from here. We're gonna place a mark point there so that we know where it is in case we lose it again. So now I can move the TGP around, and I basically bookmarked their place. Looks like that might be an anti-air emplacement. Yes, right beside it. It actually doesn't show up too well on thermal. Probably not giving off much heat. But that looks like a logistics and supply base. I can see they've got all kinds of, like, materials under camo netting. A couple of armored vehicles, too. I think this is a target for a 2,000-pound JDAM. Look, there's buildings right there. There's a lot. And we're going to be blowing up ammo stores, too. But, on the other hand, have you considered that I need to lose weight? It's taking a little bit longer, but I've actually chosen to overfly this again, and here's why. I want to come at it from this side, mainly because I was worried about these other buildings right beside it. I was worried that this JDAM might come in too low and actually strike those buildings, which would be a disaster. It might still kill the targets, but I am legitimately, like, for all the jokes, trying to prevent collateral damage. So there it is, we are in range. Drop. Not bad. Really sucks for the buildings immediately around it. But that is an entire enemy munitions depot wiped out, along with personnel and vehicles. That'll be just about all our ordnance expended, except for a couple of rockets still in there, which don't do us much good. Other than that, the only thing we really have left is guns. So let's use some guns. There's basically no AA threat, or they would have taken me down when I did the cluster munitions run in this town over here. So let's deal with some of those roadblocks they've got set up. BTR might be dangerous for approaching troops, but it is no threat to the A-10. Actually, potentially could be, but there's no way they're going to see us at this angle. We're like a hawk swooping down to grab a bunny. They're about as defenseless, so let's just do a little burst.
Pull up.
And that's it for you. Where's the other guy?
Pull up.
There
pull
he
up.
is. We're flying over him. We didn't really get the opportunity.
Altitude, altitude.
These low passes are always so scary. Why didn't those infantry fire on me? I mean, they're dead now. That's why they're not firing on me now. But it's kind of strange, I guess, that they didn't even try to shoot at me. I didn't see any tracers coming in for the cluster bomb pass. I mean, let's be real. Whatever VIP was in that helicopter died in the cluster strike. But we can still rack it with some 30 mil.
Pull up.
Boom!
Pull up.
Oh, that went up.
Pull up. Pull up. Altitude, altitude.
It's sad, man. The A-10 is so famous for its gun. And there's so much it can do, but the gun is kind of the least of it. So we're gonna hit you with some more. Looks like that's a kill.
Pull up. Pull up.
The one thing we haven't hit, and I'm battling intrusive thoughts right now, is that column, the 4 BTRs that we saw on the road, and they're actually right there. Again, we know that this town is infested with AAA. A lot of angry guns pointed up at us now. There's definitely no stealth element. But I want those guys, and I might be willing to do something daring. Alright, here's how it's going to be. We're going to come from up high, dive at a steep but not so steep angle, fire from a little farther away than I'm comfortable with. It's going to be one pass, and whatever we don't get, we don't get. We're not here to solve all their problems, we're just here to kill what we can. This is very, very dangerous. I'm already not crazy about this angle. But they're so close together, too. Okay, peel out. Everything's going to be shooting at us, so fly evasively. We're fast, that's the good thing. Because we were just in a dive. There they are shooting at us. That's a lot of tracer fire. We're going to want to gain some altitude, gain some distance. Keep jinking so that their predictions are not accurate. We're losing some speed, too. We don't want to lose too much in that climb. This is probably not how you do this, but it's how I'm doing it. And I think we've made it. Looks like we got probably 3 out of 4. And you know what? I'm happy with that. Let's call it a day. At this point, at this stage, they've got to call like a full retreat from both towns, right? Like, what's even left besides infantry down there? All this destruction was carried in on one plane. We didn't even use it all. Let's look at our fuel. We've still got like thousands of pounds of fuel left. I could do this all day. The A-10 is such a cool and versatile plane, and in a modern environment with man pads and all these problems, like, it's really, really difficult to find a role for it, and they've been talking about retiring it for years. I acknowledge it's a plane that's got a lot of problems, but it's just so cool, and when it's in its element, there's just nothing like it. And as I survey the destruction I hath wrought, I'm kind of thinking, like, I've gotten to talking about the roles, and I can't help myself. I kind of want to see what this mission would be like in the F-16. So here we are in the F-16, in many ways more elegant plane. And this is a post-commentary. I actually ran this without talking, and now we're just kind of watching the track file, which I already know has gone off without a hitch, thankfully, in this case. So the startup process is actually very similar, pleasantly, to the A-10. We're going to start up our TGP, we're going to look down, and because of our greater altitude, and of course my foreknowledge of this mission, I pretty much immediately spot the courtyard with these 3 grad rockets. So I'm going to set it up, and we're going to make sure our JDAMS are powered on. I'm just kind of messing with the controls here. And pretty much we've already got their number. Now, if you have a look at this thing, you'll see we're more nimble, we're faster, but we can't carry nearly as much. All we've got this time are these 2 JDAMS and these 2 cluster munitions. We really can't carry any more than that. And that's one way where the A-10 is kind of a bit more advanced. The thing is, you know, right here, we've got the energy, we're high up. So immediately, we've already flown in so high and from so far away that SA-13 that just died in the courtyard with everything else wasn't even really a concern for us. So that's one group of enemies dead already. Now we're going to immediately start looking for the next group. And it looks like this time I spotted the ammo depot first. And you see we're leaning to the right here pretty heavily. That's not just because of the turn that we're in itself. I'm actually kind of fighting against that here. The 2,000-pound JDAM is a very, very heavy bomb, and the F-16 is much less capable of compensating for that weight. It's a much lighter aircraft. But we are dropping our second JDAM, and let's follow it in. And you'll see, it's actually being launched all the way from, like, past the secondary town to the first town. That's one advantage of the F-16, is that we're moving so fast, this bomb, when it releases, has got all that momentum behind it, so we can kind of lob it from much farther away. There it is, starting to guide itself, heading right towards those big green targets. Boom. Now, I was aiming for the same one in the lower corner as before, so one thing I have found is that, and maybe it's just the way I'm using it, the JDAM in the F-16 seems to be at least just a little bit offset, where the A-10 tended to be more pinpoint. We're coming in for our cluster munition drop, and we're going to be getting really, really close, and we haven't dealt with this Shilka and SA-13. So I really didn't know if these things wouldn't just grab us while we're coming in or while we're coming out. I was really nervous during this whole operation. So let's pull our view up and see our pipper. See those things down there. I'm looking at my RWR. We are immediately getting spiked by the Shilka, and so I am just pulling out of there. I'm going, nope, goodbye. I'm using my speed and altitude to just abscond from the situation. Oddly enough, the SA-13 never even spiked me, so that thing really needed to wake up. A couple more seconds and it probably would have. But we can look back. And that looks like actually quite a devastating hit. And after that, that's pretty much it for us. That's all of our ordnance expended. We're out. So, in a way, we kind of just did in like a couple minutes what it took the A-10 like an hour to do, or close to it. But we only hit our primary targets, where the A-10 was able to remain on station for a really long time and kill like everything. At the same time, though, the A-10 was in a lot more danger in that role, where the F-16 was able to just kind of slip in and out silently. Well, not silently, but you get the idea. To me, stuff like this will always be just infinitely cooler than any Call of Duty level. Because there's weight to it, you know? There's realism, and you really have to work for every little bit. It helps you to appreciate just all that's going into every little thing. I know it's not this channel's usual thing, but I love it. And if you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more creepy and comfy content. And this, if you have any ideas for other videos you think I should do, the best place to suggest that will be at the Discord, which I will link in the description. If you want to try this game out for yourself, that link will also be in the description. If you want to support me on Patreon, that link will be in the description. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.